Have you ever felt alone, even when surrounded by people? Have you ever wondered if someone could love you for who you truly are, not for what you have? The truth is, many of us have experienced this feeling, that sense that those around us are only interested in what we can offer materially, while our true selves remain hidden, invisible. But what if you could find someone who saw beyond appearances? Someone who saw your heart, not your wallet? The story I'm about to tell you is about just that. About how, sometimes, we need to strip away the superficial layers to find what truly matters. Victor, like many of us, discovered that real value lies in authenticity, and that true love can emerge when you least expect it. So, he had a rather crazy idea. He decided to step away from the world of luxury and success, just to see if anyone would notice him for who he really was, and not for what he had. He thought, what if I disappeared for a while? What if I went to a place where no one knew me? Would I find someone who truly cared about me? With that thought in mind, Victor packed his bags with a few simple clothes, left his credit cards behind, and headed to a small coastal town. He wanted to live like an ordinary man, no luxury, no fancy cars, no expensive dinners. Upon arriving in the town, he rented a small apartment in a humble neighborhood, one of those that had just the essentials: a bed, a small table, and a stove. To complete his disguise, he got a job at a small electronics repair shop. It was perfect for him. After all, he was always good with technology, but now he was doing it as just another guy, not as a tech mogul. In the first few days, Victor enjoyed the simplicity of his new life. He walked the streets unnoticed, ate in modest restaurants, and even felt a bit free. But of course, the real test was still to come. He wanted to see if he could meet someone real. He was determined to distance himself from everything that reminded him of his millionaire life. He had left behind the luxury cars, the endless meetings, and all the weight of being the tech guy. He wanted a fresh start, and in those early days, he met Talia. Talia was a fascinating woman. With an elegant beauty, dark hair, and an enigmatic demeanor, she seemed exactly the type of person Victor had been searching for. She was a painter, selling her work in a small gallery in town, living a simple yet stylish life. Victor was captivated from the very first moment. He thought, this woman seems different from all those I met in the corporate world. Maybe she's the one who will love me for who I am, not for my money. In the first few days, Victor and Talia began to meet casually. He would often pass by her gallery, commenting on the artworks, and slowly they started talking more. Talia was intelligent, creative, and seemed to have a sensitive outlook on life. She spoke about art with passion, and in some way, this touched Victor deeply, as he had never taken the time to appreciate the simple, beautiful things in life. But, as always, things aren't always what they seem. Even though Talia was an artist, she had a somewhat superficial view of life. When she began to realize that Victor wasn't exactly wealthy, at least, not from what he appeared, her interest in him started to cool off. She expected someone she got involved with to provide a life of comfort, something he didn't seem capable of offering. It all fell apart during a simple dinner. Talia accepted an invitation to dine at Victor's small, modest apartment, without a hint of luxury. He prepared a simple meal, made with care, and while they ate, Victor thought this might be the start of something beautiful. He wanted to show her that true love, genuine connection, didn't depend on material things. But Talia wasn't as interested. As Victor spoke about his dreams and how he was searching for something real, her eyes wandered. She glanced around the modest apartment, the simple furniture, and finally, she made a comment that Victor would never forget. Victor, you're a nice guy, but I'm really at a point in my life where I need stability. I'm looking for someone who can, offer more. And I think you understand what I mean. He understood. It was the same thing, all over again. Even someone he thought could be different ended up seeing him just like so many others had in the past, with interest in what he could provide materially, not emotionally. Talia politely finished the dinner, but from that moment, it was clear she didn't want anything more with him. Disillusioned, Victor spent the following weeks in isolation. He began to doubt his decision to hide from the world and pretend to be someone else. Perhaps he was destined to live surrounded by superficiality, without ever finding someone who truly saw him for who he was. His trips to work became mechanical, and he was on the verge of giving up on this simple life experiment, ready to return to his old reality, until he met Sofia. Here comes the turning point. Sofia was the complete opposite of Talia. She wasn't interested in what someone had, but in who they truly were. She worked at a small cafe, always with a smile on her face, even during the busiest days. When Victor walked into that cafe for the first time, without any expectations, he had no idea his life was about to change forever. At first, their interactions were just casual exchanges, just a customer and a waitress sharing a few words. "How's your day going?" she would ask as she placed a fresh coffee on his table. "Better now with this coffee," Victor would reply with a shy but genuine smile. And the truth was, every time they talked, Victor felt something different. Sofia didn't care about the simple clothes he wore or the fact that he rode off on an old bike. She was more interested in what he said, in the way he talked passionately about technology, and in the little stories he shared about life. After a few weeks, their friendship blossomed naturally, and that's when Victor realized he was truly interested in Sofia, not just as a distraction, but as someone he wanted to share his life with. Every conversation seemed to deepen their connection. Sofia was funny, intelligent, and had a light-hearted way of looking at life, something Victor deeply admired. As time passed, the simple act of having coffee at the same place every day became the highlight of Victor's day. He no longer thought about Talia or his frustrating past. Sofia had a different energy, something that made him feel good, something that made him feel seen. The turning point came when Sofia, noticing that Victor often stayed until late, invited him for a walk on the beach after her shift. They walked for hours, talking about their lives, their dreams, and for the first time, Victor felt he could be completely honest with someone. But there was still the weight of the secret he carried, his true identity. Victor knew he had to tell Sofia who he really was. He couldn't keep living this lie much longer. After all, he had already lived through this with Talia and knew that keeping secrets was the path to the destruction of any relationship. But fear consumed him. What if Sofia reacted the same way Talia had? What if, once she discovered he was a millionaire, she began to see him differently? It was a starry night as they sat on the sand, gazing at the sea. Victor, unable to carry the weight of the truth any longer, began to speak. He told Sofia about his life before coming to the town, about what it was like to be a wealthy man, unsure of who truly cared for him. He explained how tired he was of being seen as a walking wallet, and how that drove him to step away from everything and start fresh. Sofia listened in silence. Her eyes never left Victor, and though her face showed surprise, there was no sign of disappointment. When he finished, she sighed, and after a long moment of silence, she finally spoke. "I understand why you did this. I can't imagine what it must be like to always question who really cares about you. But Victor, you should have trusted me from the beginning." Victor's heart raced. He knew she was right. He had hidden an important part of his life out of fear. And now, that very fear had the potential to push her away. Sofia stood up, and before leaving, she turned to him and said, "I just need some time to process all of this. It's not easy to handle the idea that the person I was getting to know isn't who I thought they were. But I still believe you're the same person I met, just with a few more layers." Victor remained there, alone, staring at the ocean, as her words echoed in his mind. He knew he had much to lose, but he also knew that if he had a second chance with Sofia, he wouldn't waste it. The days that followed were a true test of patience and hope. Victor waited, heart heavy, for Sofia to make her decision. He knew she was different from Talia, yet the fear of the unknown still consumed him. Finally, a week later, Sofia walked into the cafe where it had all started. She looked at him with a soft smile and simply said, "So, shall we try again? This time, no secrets." Victor smiled. He knew that from that moment, he was beginning something real, something true. The fear was replaced by gratitude, and there in that small seaside cafe, he found something that no amount of wealth could ever buy, the sincere love of Sofia. And so, Victor's life changed. He had come to that town disillusioned, believing he would never find someone who loved him for who he was. But in the end, he found Sofia, and with her, he found what he had always been searching for, a life built on love, trust, and authenticity. But like every story, there was still one last chapter to be written, and it involved Talia. When Talia found out, through rumors spreading across the small town, that the simple Victor was actually a millionaire, her behavior changed. With renewed interest, she sought him out, determined to try for a reconciliation. She knew she could have a life of luxury by his side, and now she saw Victor as a missed opportunity that needed to be recovered. Talia found him on one of the quiet streets of the town, walking hand in hand with Sofia. Without hesitation, she approached, full of false regrets. "Victor, I made a mistake. I didn't value you the way you deserved. Now that I know who you really are, I realize you're the man I've always wanted," Talia said, trying to sound sincere. Victor, however, had learned his lesson. He smiled calmly, looked at Talia, and responded, "You know, Talia, at first, I thought you might be the right person. I thought the simplicity you showed was genuine. But now, I see that you never really saw me. And honestly, it's not money that defines who we are. What truly matters is what's inside, and you weren't able to see that." Talia, surprised by Victor's firmness, tried to argue, but he continued, "I found someone who values me for who I am, not for what I have. True love can't be bought, and that's why I'm with Sofia." He then turned to look at Sofia, who had been standing by his side the entire time, silent but strong. Sofia smiled, the kind of smile that lights up the soul. She didn't need to say anything because Victor already knew what she meant to him. He gently held her face, her eyes shining with a mix of love and gratitude, and without hesitation, he kissed her right there, in front of everyone. The kiss was soft, yet full of passion, as if time stopped for a moment and all that existed was the love between them. Talia, realizing she had lost, slowly walked away, defeated not by money or power, but by the strength of a love she could never understand. As Victor and Sofia embraced, the sea breeze gently brushing their faces, he whispered in her ear, "You were the answer I've always been searching for." And in that moment, it became clear that they had found something far more valuable than any fortune. They had each other, and that was all that mattered. And so, with the sun setting on the horizon and the waves softly breaking on the shore, Victor and Sofia began a new chapter in their lives. There were no more secrets, only the promise of a future built on love, honesty, and above all, the certainty that true value doesn't lie in what we possess, but in the connections we form. If you loved this emotional and twist-filled story, don't forget to hit the like button to support our channel. It helps us keep bringing more stories like this, stories that touch the heart. And of course, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next chapters of our incredible narratives. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of Victor and Sofia's journey? Leave a comment below. We're excited to hear your take on this story of life and true love. Thanks for being with us, and see you next time.